Hello, Professor, TAs, and my fellow students. Speech recognition has fascinated me for years. I really thought by now that the keyboard would be gone and that we'd be using our voices to command our devices. 15 years ago, my company offered me a PDA. It was a personal data assistant device. It held contacts, a calendar, and my notes. I gave it back after a while and said I would wait until I could talk to it and it could talk to me. Well, this year I got my iPhone, and I can talk to Siri, and she talks to me. Um, I am interested, though, in controlling the applications on the phone itself and accessing locally stored data hands-free, more so than accessing the internet and finding good places to eat. So I've created this application that demonstrates the two speech recognition APIs now available natively to Android, the speech-to-text and text-to-speech. One converts what we say into text, and the other converts text into speech. Let's take a look at the code. It's very simple. I've got my main activity and then two blank activities that I'm going to use in my demo. They're identical other than the title. And if you look up here in the import section, first I'm importing the speech-to-text. I'm importing a Android speech recognizer intent. And yes, it's an intent that will be called as the main part of the speech-to-text. And then we have Android speech TTS text-to-speech. And neither of them required special libraries to be imported into Android. So I'm going to start with the text-to-speech. And at the heart of it is a, let's come down here, the text-to-speech object, which will hold and then convert the text and convert it into speech. And in there we also create its on-init listener, which will be where we can set certain variables, and it'll be listening for the text that we pointed at. And then later on, when we click the button, we have our set on click listener for that button, and I reference the text, the edit text box that I'm using, and then I simply say TTS speak. There's the phrase speak, a numeric value, and another value that we don't need to refer to here. So it's just basically telling it, say the words in that field. And I'm going to give a little sample here. And here we go.
This is a test of Android's text-to-speech.
And we could change the sound of the voice and other features of the voice when we first set up that TTS object. Right here, I did set the language to the US version of English. And that was it. It's a very simple process and surprisingly easy once I got the code down. Next, we're going to look at the speech-to-text. The problem I ran into here was that apparently emulators do not normally implement speech-to-text. It has to do with an issue with hardware and accessing the system mic. So I'm going to have to demonstrate through an emulator that I made how this should work. But I do have the code that I believe would work if my emulator could do it. And so it begins with setting up an intent. Here's my on-click listener for my button. I click that and I set up an intent, a recognizer intent, and I can put in various values. And finally, the important step is to start activity for result. And there's my reference to the request. This is the request code. It specifies to the system what intent is calling this. I had at one point actually planned to use an intent for the text-to-speech, and that's why up here I had set up those two variables. One was set with a 0 and one was set for a 1, and then in the on-activity result I had both set up in here, and it had a switch to distinguish between the two. But that wasn't working for me, so I went with my second second way, and that does work. So it's the on-activity result that we need, and it's like any other intent that sends a result. We get a request code specifying which intent this is a response from, and then we have the result code indicating whether there was a problem or if it's result okay, which is what we want. And finally, the important item, the data. And here we create our object, and we have our little text-to-speech listener. So it begins listening to our text. And here we come back down and find our, where is it? So we've gone into the switch, we're in the speech-to-text module, and if the result's okay, we pass into get what we want is a string array of words. The first word will be our command word, and if there's more words, then those will be used by the command. And to get that, we pull the data, pull an array list from the data field, and then we get the first element in that array list, and that's just a string of words with spaces between them. So we're able to parse that string and get an array list of words, an array of strings, and we'll pass that array onto my execute command line, which is a very simple structure. It doesn't have any special code related to text-to-speech or speech-to-text. It will do a switch, and based on the first word it'll go further in, and then in the case of the open, it'll actually do a test on the second word to see if it's the first activity or the second activity that should be opened. We have write, call, and quit, and you'll see that also here. Here are the options. So I'm going to go ahead and do my little emulated demo, and let's see, we start, I'm going to be opening my activities first. Open 1, and 1 is opened. Open 2. No, open 2. And here I'm going to actually write into this field. I'm going to use the word write, and then I'm going to write a bunch of words. And it writes a bunch of words. And you can even hear it there. And let's see, the next one is we're going to access the system phone, call. And when I'm done, I'm able to quit. So that's my code. It demonstrates both text-to-speech and speech-to-text. It's still clunky. It depends on me clicking buttons to execute commands. One day, I hope to have a constantly listening device that recognizes certain words and wakes up to follow commands. And actually, there is an Android app in beta right now called Utter, and it claims to do just that. Let me pull it up. That's not it. There it is. And it's getting good reviews. And what I like about it is it calls itself a personal assistant, just like my old PDA from 15 years ago. And this time it actually does listen to voice commands, and I can talk to it, and it can talk to me. Thank you very much.